boy, Fallen Angel, A&G. Your boy driving the train, and thought I hit this hashtag Robinson Wisdom, because your boy don't make many promises, but always keep my word like a man's man that I am. And someone told me that they wanted me to do a Robinson Wisdom on loneliness and my thoughts on it. In particular, being lonely, like perpetual loneliness, is what they wanted me to do a Robinson Wisdom on and give my thoughts. So here's how I feel about that. Loneliness is a real interesting thing to me in particular, because people, in my opinion, from what I've come across, people seem to associate being lonely or not lonely with the company or presence of another. And I don't particularly look at it that way. I feel like loneliness is an internal thing, not an external thing. I don't believe that it can be cured by company or the presence of a family member or a friend or a loved one. I feel that that's a band-aid, so to speak, or a buffer for the real issue at hand. And if you look at a lot of ailments, especially mental ailments of people tend to put band-aids, as I like to call it, on the problem, meaning that they don't find the source, whether the source be something presently that happened, but a lot of times you find out that it's something in the past that may have happened to the person, or some form of neglect, some form of abuse, or some other problem. Or sometimes people just get lost along the way. And I feel that loneliness is one of those things that people tend to put a band-aid on, which is why so often, it's funny, I see on Instagram all the time, and females don't get mad at me, but it seems to be a female thing more than a guy thing, of posting. Like, guys are like dogs, females are like cats. So females like to piss and mark the territory, and you will see a girl posting about their man, and this is my man, or I found the love of my life, and oh my boo, blah blah blah, and then it will go silent, and then all of a sudden you see a new man and the love of their life and they boo for usually a short amount of time. Then it goes silent, and it's repetitive, and that to me is a sign of a lonely person. It's somebody seeking fulfillment through the presence of another. And this usually, as you see, it usually doesn't come from the same sex. It comes from the opposite. And something that the person, to me, it seems obvious, has been missing in their life for a prolonged period of time, to seek love, or what their perception of love is. And it's just not the way to go about it. Even when you see these girls on Instagram and they got their boobs out and tits out, or setting what the young kids call thirst traps, that's for attention. And you have to realize that, nowadays it's more complex, but at the same time just as simple. Back in the days before all these things, these social media were able to monetize, you would see people doing this, and it was a cry for attention, which is psychologically a telltale sign of a lonely and most times damaged person in some way. Now, when you add the social media and you can monetize from it, a lot of people mask this cry for attention under the guise of his business, his work. I'm monetizing this, and hey, go on, girl, I don't hate the player or the motherfucking game, so do your thing if that's your choice. But at the same time, when you go into depth of these people, they don't generally have healthy relationships, and a lot of them I know personally, a lot of them are sad and are lonely, because here's the thing, you have to figure out why you're lonely. Sometimes it could be people You need a habit. You need a hobby. You know, I remember back in college in psychology class, when my teacher talked about loneliness, he talked about how a lot of old people in particular start to grow gardens because it gives them a day-to-day task, a day-to-day job, and something to do, something to look forward to, something that needs to be tended to or cared for. You know, and it's a hobby, it's a habit. It becomes a pattern, it becomes redundant, and things. Sometimes people just need to create a purpose, something that makes them happy, that it involves no other people at all. Sometimes the cure to loneliness is actually being physically lonely, drawing, painting, making music, playing an instrument, traveling, you know, finding something that you've always wanted to do or something that you're interested in but quote unquote could not make time for. You make the time for it, you create the time for it. You would be surprised how much time you actually have on your hands to do things that you're interested in doing but never did, under the self-created illusion that you don't have time for that particular interest, not realizing how much time goes into the girl or guy that you're chasing that may not even be good or healthy for you, and many times unfortunately aren't, or might not even have the same interest as you in you as you do in them. So yeah, that's my opinion on it. I think that whether it's from past experiences or present experiences, or sometimes it's just a part of people. Sometimes you just don't connect. You know, I'm aware of that. It's not many people I connect to myself, like on the same, whether you want to call it wavelength or spiritual wave or things like that. And sometimes you could go on create a mission of putting your wavelength out there, and that gives you a goal to not be as lonely, and those that's on that same wavelength or spiritual vibe will find you, instead of you searching them, as you create your own path, and people find you that's on that same path. So I just think that the cure to loneliness personally is investing in oneself, investing in one's goals, investing in one's dreams, investing in one's work if that's what you love to do, investing in a hobby or such. And I also believe that's why sometimes, as in this particular case, this person told me they can be around people and still feel lonely. And I think that's why, because if you don't do anything that's fulfilling your soul, if you're a believer in such, or your spirit, then nothing else you do or who you're around, it will never cure that, you know. And a lot of time loneliness in a physical sense leads people to disrespect themselves and perpetuate that loneliness through their actions, because people will always pretend to want them but never want them. So that's how I feel about it. You guys write in the comments how you feel about it. Let me know your thoughts on loneliness, and if any of you have been lonely before and cured that loneliness, why don't you write in the comments how, you know, add something to the world instead of just commenting on all that stupid shit online. Put something out there that somebody may read and can help them with a problem they have that you once had. So that's your boy's thoughts on it. Robinson Wisdom. Get at it. Hashtag that Robinson Wisdom on YouTube or on Instagram. Find more. And I'm out.